Hi everyone and welcome to my channel, the home of scale pre-painted figure unboxing and reviews, as well as videos on custom painted scale model kit projects. In this video, we'll be looking at the former, specifically at an outlier in the Pop Up Parade lineup of KonoSuba characters, namely a secondary character called Yunyun. While Yunyun isn't part of KonoSuba's infamous gang of four that consists of Kazuma, Aqua, Megumin, and Darkness, she's arguably the fifth most popular character in the fantasy comedy, hence the acquisition of her pre-painted figure for my collection and review. Similar to 3/4 of the Pop Up Parade figure lineup of the KonoSuba series I've reviewed so far on my channel, Yunyun comes in the smallest standard size box by Good Smile Company because, like Kazuma, Aqua, and Darkness before her, they all lack accessories that Megumin had. Yet from the signature all-clear box, the view of Yunyun afforded to us, notwithstanding visual distortions caused by plastic sheets and blisters, still convey a figure laden with details, hence my optimism despite her lack of accessories. Other than being KonoSuba's main supporting character, Yunyun is also the deuteragonist of the spin-off series called Explosion, where she is second to Megumin. So I guess it stands to reason that Yunyun would qualify as the most suitable KonoSuba character outside of the aforementioned gang of four to have her own pre-painted figure in the Pop Up Parade lineup. Well, I'm sure you are as impatient as me to see what Good Smile Company and Max Factory has in store for Yunyun. Let's get started on her unboxing and unwrapping process as per the ASMR section of the review. Commentary will resume once Yunyun has been unpacked for a close-up view. At a glance, it's pretty obvious what strategy had been adopted by Max Factory for the pre-painted scale figure of KonoSuba character Yunyun. This pop-up parade version of her consists of numerous little details that are accurately sculpted, with an equally accurate color scheme that's true to the anime character, all of which is covered in an extremely clean paintwork. Complexity in sculpt and the clean paintwork is evident even when the figure is viewed from behind, but it's from the front that we can truly appreciate just how good this mid-tier figurine is when measured against a key benchmark, i.e. the lightness factor to its animated subject matter, namely Yunyun. Of course, it helps when her back view is also full of accurate details and clean paintwork, a combination that somewhat helps mitigate the overall flat colors. Yunyun is abound with terrific little details from her feet all the way to her head, whose nicely sculpted hair is accessorized with a gold hairpin with red ribbons on her braid and two red ribbon bows on her pigtails. Her attire begins with a white collar and an oversized pink necktie covering up her cleavage. That's accentuated by a black low-cut blouse with white sleeves and trimmings, and a white stripe with red buttons. A brown belt with a silver buckle holds up a layered miniskirt comprising a tricolour of pink, brown and white. Meanwhile, a pair of dark pink stockings with black trimmings flow into her brown knee-high boots, of which a round peg can be found on the sole of her right foot that attaches to the base. The base continues the Pop-Up Parade tradition, at least for its KonoSuba series, of being a hexagonal clear coloured piece, in which for Yunyun comes in a moulded-in burgundy hue. Since her assembly onto the base is as straightforward as they come, I'll just quickly attach the feet with the peg into the hole in the base on camera, which you can see me doing here. With this almost effortless task done, I'll now move on to the next section, which is the full 360-degree view of the Pop Up Parade figure of Yunyun, who is a prodigy in the Crimson Demon tribe, though one with a tad less magical talent than Megumin. From this zoomed out, all-encompassing view of the pre-painted figure of Yunyun, Max Factory has yet again produced a pop-up parade version of a KonoSuba character that successfully captures her personality via a combination of sculpted details, color scheme, as well as pose. Standing at 18 centimeters tall, this mid-tier figurine of Yunyun manages to convey her social awkwardness, shyness, and timidity through its pose and facial expression. In terms of likeness factor, Max Factory accomplishes this via the painted and sculpted details of her face, attire, and body shape, of which that last characteristic is evident in her buxom qualities, which is a humorous counterpoint in the series storyline to Megumin's flat-chested looks. Resemblance to the animated character is also helped by an accurately replicated color scheme, not only for her attire, but also her skin tone and facial details. This combination of likeness factor and a spot-on portrayal of her demeanor makes for an extremely accurate 3D representation in figure form of the KonoSuba character Yunyun. Being as well endowed as Yunyun obviously is, it is to Max Factory's credit that her buxom qualities was not sculpted in a crass way, helped of course by the manga artist's clever design of having her oversized pink necktie cover up her rather prominent cleavage. This upper view also affords us a close-up of the figurine's head that showcases both the nicely sculpted hairstyle and its corresponding hairpin and ribbon bows on her braids and pigtails respectively, as well as facial details of her crimson eyes, blushing cheeks, and open-mouthed exclamation, all of which combine to give the figure a close resemblance to its anime counterpart. Yunyun's black blouse with its white sleeves and trimmings, plus a white stripe with red buttons down the middle, looks simple and unassuming, that is, if you ignore the extremely low-cut fashion. It's her ruffle miniskirt that, in my opinion, brings out the flair and style in her entire ensemble. You can just about catch a glimpse of her miniskirt from this angle, so I'll have to switch to a view of her lower half for you to get a close-up look at her skirt and the rest of Yunyun's take on a sexier wizard's outfit. And yes, the fingernails on Yunyun's clenched fist remain unpainted, so my pet peeve for pop-up parade figures remains unresolved. Now, it happens from time to time, and if you are familiar with the Japanese cultural values behind the concept of fan service in anime and manga, then like me, you wouldn't have even batted an eyelid to the glimpse of Yunyun's pantsu from behind due to her pose. Personally, I'm pretty okay with fan service on pre-painted figures, provided they are tastefully done and not portrayed in a provocative and sexually demeaning way. What actually caught my eye more was Yunyun's cute ruffle miniskirt, which is sculpted to show a pink layer with brown trimmings atop a white layer, which in turn is barely covering up her pink pantsu. Cue fan service. Her bare thighs doesn't seem to have any skin tone shading on them, a theme that extends to her dark thigh-high socks with black trimmings, as well as the dark brown knee-high boots, i.e. lack of shadows and highlights, that is. Meanwhile, those very dark brown boots do unfortunately kind of blend into the dark burgundy coloured base, which results in a lack of contrast to differentiate the lower half of the figure from its base. For me, this standard size pop-up parade pre-painted figure version of Yunyun is a difficult one to rate, at least in relation to the other KonoSuba figures that I had reviewed during these past few weeks. There is a balance of opinion to be had between assessing Yunyun in isolation as per the qualities inherent in this particular figurine produced by Max Factory, or through the lens of a KonoSuba fan like myself, in which Yunyun is a fairly peripheral character compared to Kazuma, Aqua, Megumin, and Darkness before her. So let's look at the facts that pertains to Yunyun the pre-painted figure and Yunyun the anime character, both in relation to each other rather than in isolation from each other. From the standpoint of sculpt and paintwork quality of the scale figure, this mid-tier version of Yunyun is excellent considering the price point we are at, which was 3,900 yen at the time of her launch. Now, I've said my piece earlier about the figure's clean paintwork and accurately sculpted details, so I'll instead summarize my musings on the efficacy of this combination to portray a recognizable and desirable figure of Yunyun from the KonoSuba anime series as well as the spin-off called Explosion. Despite the lack of accessories accompanying this particular Pop Up Parade mid-tier scale painted figure, Guzma Company and Max Factory have yet again done an outstanding job in designing a dynamic pose that captures the demeanor of Yunyun perfectly. Although Yunyun is similar to Kazuma, Aqua and Darkness in that they all lack accessories, Yunyun still manages to rise above that shortcoming through her pose, as I just mentioned, as well as the amount of details that prevent the figure from becoming aesthetically dreary. To put this KonoSuba figure comparison in perspective, Yunyun matches Kazuma and Darkness in terms of pose, but exceeds both by having more details and better color variety. Yunyun then matches Aqua in terms of details and color scheme, and exceeds her in terms of pose. When it comes to Megumin, Yunyun loses out in terms of accessories, but matches her in terms of pose, and slightly edges Megumin out in terms of tiny sculpted details and overall color scheme variety. Bearing all this in mind, I'm giving this Pop-Up Parade pre-painted figure of Yunyun a rating of Diamond or A rank. I actually surprised even myself with this rating of Yunyun, as I had thought Megumin was in a class of her own in Pop-Up Parade's KonoSuba lineup. But a close-up examination of Yunyun has proved me wrong. In short, despite Yunyun being a peripheral character in KonoSuba and a secondary one in the spin-off Explosion, she is a mid-tier scale figure that's worth having in your collection. Thank you for your time, and I truly hope this video was informative to all you collectors out there. Until my next video, please be well and be happy. Goodbye.